You know, ever since Isaac Newton, we've grown accustomed to thinking of the universe as a giant, predictable clock. Everything moves in elegant, mathematically precise orbits. Planets, asteroids, comets. It's all a game of celestial billiards where, knowing the initial conditions, we can calculate the position of any ball on the table for thousands of years to come. This is the physics we understand. It's reliable. It works. But what if I told you that in this celestial mechanism, there are parts that we not only don't see, we never even suspected their existence? What if two interstellar objects arriving from the abyss between the stars met in our solar system not by the laws of chance, but according to a pre-written script? This changes everything. It challenges everything we know about celestial mechanics. I'm talking about an event that is forcing physicists around the world to reconsider their models. A collision whose probability, from a statistical standpoint, is zero. An absolute zero. We have two actors. The first is an interstellar visitor, Comet 3I Atlas. We saw it, we tracked it. The second, it wasn't in any catalog. No one knew it existed. Its name is SWAN R2, and its trajectory was calculated with an incredible, simply mind-boggling precision to rendezvous with Comet Atlas. And the most astonishing part? Our best sky survey systems, NASA, all those powerful telescopes, they were blind. Do you understand? Blind. To grasp the scale of this paradigm shift, let's go back a few years. 2019, we were all thrilled. After the mysterious Oumuamua, a second interstellar guest entered our system, Comet SWAN R2. It was proof. The universe isn't a collection of isolated systems. It's a giant interstellar highway, and we live near one of its busy intersections. We had received a second postcard from beyond our home. Then, in 2022, automated telescopes, specifically the Atlas system, spotted a third wanderer. 3I Atlas. At first, there was great excitement. Calculations showed it could become the brightest comet of the decade. But alas, physics took its course. As it approached the sun, this fragile conglomerate of ice and dust began to disintegrate. The nucleus fragmented, its brightness plummeted. The comet turned into a slowly melting cosmic iceberg of interest only to specialists. It became background noise, a predictable and frankly, rather boring object. It behaved like a normal comet. Boring, predictable physics. And that is precisely why we missed the most important part. This is the crux of the matter. We were looking at it, but we didn't see what was flying behind it. Or rather, flying towards it. For nearly 30 years, an old but reliable spacecraft has been orbiting the Sun, SOHO, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, a joint NASA and ESA project launched in 1995. It has many instruments on board, and one of them is called SWAN R2, or simply SWAN. It's not a telescope in the usual sense. It doesn't create beautiful pictures. Its job is to scan the entire sky for a specific type of ultraviolet radiation, the so-called Lyman alpha line. This radiation is emitted by hydrogen. SWAN sees hydrogen clouds. Usually it tracks how the solar wind interacts with interstellar gas. But sometimes comets enter its field of view, creating a vast, but invisible in normal light, hydrogen coma around themselves as they approach the sun. And so, a small group of graduate students from the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics in Germany decided to do something unconventional. They weren't looking for a sensation. They were simply writing a new program to analyze noisy data. As test material, they used archival data from the SWAN instrument from the last few years, from the region where the remnants of Comet 3I Atlas were currently passing, just to calibrate their algorithms. None of them expected a breakthrough. No one. The program's first results were flagged as an error, An artifact. It showed a faint but stable and, most importantly, shifting spot of hydrogen emission, where there shouldn't be one. It was near the debris of Atlas, but moving on a completely different trajectory. At first they tried to blame it on sensor noise, solar flares, anything. They spent months checking. They pulled up data from a year ago, 2 years, 3, and with dawning horror, they realized it wasn't an error. It was a real object. They named it SWAN R2. It was invisible to all optical telescopes. Why? Because its albedo, its reflectivity, was less than 1%. This object, it's blacker than coal. It reflects almost no sunlight. It has no dusty coma like we're used to seeing with comets. All it has is a rarefied but enormous hydrogen cloud, which the old SWAN instrument detected. A cloud that, like a shroud, concealed its true nature. And this is where it gets terrifying. When they calculated its orbit, the hair on their heads stood on end. SWAN R2's trajectory wasn't just close to that of 3I Atlas. It was calculated with a diabolical, impossible precision to intersect with the main fragment of the comet at a specific point in space and time. The margin of error was less than 100 kilometers. On a cosmic scale, that's a sniper's shot, a direct hit. The collision was inevitable, and it was set to happen just weeks after their discovery. What does this mean? Let's pause for a moment and process this. We have 2 interstellar objects coming from the depths of space, possibly from different star systems, separated by light years and millions of years of travel. And they meet at a tiny point in space inside our solar system at the exact same moment. What is the probability of such an event? Astronomers say it's easier to win the world's biggest lottery 10 times in a row. The probability is so negligible that it can be considered zero. It's nonsense. It's a violation of a fundamental principle, the principle of random cosmic encounters. And this brings us to the hypotheses. There are only 3. And each one is more frightening than the last. Hypothesis 1, the conservative one, a monstrous coincidence. The universe is infinite. And in a universe with an infinite number of stars and planets, even the most improbable events are bound to happen eventually. Perhaps SWAN R2 is a new, unknown class of object. For example, the core of an ancient comet, completely covered by a complex organic crust that doesn't reflect light, but still emits residual hydrogen under the influence of the solar wind. And its meeting with Atlas is just a cosmic fluke, a fantastic one, beyond our understanding of statistics, but a fluke nonetheless. This explanation is convenient. It doesn't shatter our worldview. It just tells us that the universe is even more amazing than we thought. But it doesn't answer the main question about the precision, the sniper-like precision of the impact. Probability remains our main enemy. Hypothesis 2, the frightening one. SWAN R2 is not a natural object, it's something artificial. And here, the path diverges. The first path. SWAN R2 is a kind of guardian, or a cleaner. Imagine a civilization that has existed for millions, maybe billions of years. A civilization that sees the galaxy as its home. Perhaps Comet 3I Atlas contains something that was not meant to fall into the wrong hands. A code, a biological material. Panspermia, but not random, controlled. Or maybe, on the contrary, dangerous. A virus. And so when this package went off course and headed for our system, where there is a potentially habitable planet, Earth, an interceptor was sent after it. SWAN R2. Its mission, to find and destroy, to sterilize the threat. In this worldview, we are no more than ants on whose anthill an invisible drama of titans is unfolding. And the collision is nothing more than an act of galactic sanitation. The hydrogen cloud around it is the exhaust from its engine, operating on principles we can't even begin to imagine. The second path of this hypothesis is even stranger. Comet Atlas isn't the target. It's a refueling station. Imagine an automated probe, a von Neumann probe, traveling between the stars for millennia, capable of self-replication and repair. It needs fuel, and the best fuel in cold interstellar space is volatile substances. Water, ammonia, methane, everything that comets are made of. What if SWAN R2 is such a probe, and it isn't going to destroy Atlas? It's going to consume it, to dock with it, and, like a giant cosmic mosquito, suck out all the resources it needs. Refuel, repair, and then move on to the next star. In this case, its dark surface isn't a natural material but a technological shell, perhaps for radiation shielding or energy absorption. And the encounter itself is not an attack, but a routine resource-gathering operation, planned by a cold, non-human intelligence millions of years ago. And we just happened to be on the side of this galactic highway when a long-haul trucker pulled in to refuel. And there is a third hypothesis, the most disturbing one. It suggests that we've misunderstood who is who. We assumed Atlas is the victim and SWAN R2 is the hunter. But what if it's the other way around? What if the disintegrating, unremarkable comet Atlas is just a disguise? What if its fragments are a swarm of something that deliberately approached the sun in order to then disperse throughout the inner solar system? And SWAN R2 is not the hunter. It's a guardian, trying to stop an invasion. The last line of defense for some unknown power protecting this sector of the galaxy. And the upcoming collision is not an assassination. It's a battle. The first battle of an unknown war that we can observe, but cannot comprehend. Think about it. All our titanic efforts to find extraterrestrial life, we build giant radio telescopes and listen to the silence of space. We wait for a signal, a message. We expect them to speak to us in the language of mathematics and radio waves. But what if advanced civilizations don't talk? What if they act? What if their language is the language of pure physics? Gravitational maneuvers, stellar engineering, moving matter on a planetary scale? We are searching for a whisper in a library, while all around us cities are being demolished and built. The discovery of SWAN R2 is not just the detection of a new asteroid. It's a worldview collapse. It's a blow to our pride. We've built the most powerful telescopes. We've created early warning systems capable of spotting a rock heading for Earth decades before impact. And we missed an object several kilometers in size, flying towards a clearly defined target right under our noses. Our security system, our confidence that we control near-Earth space, has turned out to be an illusion. A leaky fence. And behind that fence, there could be anyone. And they don't have to be friendly. They don't even have to notice we exist. Right now, as I speak, all the world's major telescopes, including Hubble and James Webb, are pointed at one spot. The very spot where contact will soon be made. Astronomers are trying to get any data they can about the nature of SWAN R2, its spectrum, composition, precise shape. But it remains a shadow, a ghost, a black hole on the star map. The collision itself won't be like a Hollywood explosion. Most likely it will be a short, bright flash, a release of dust and gas that will create a new, tiny nebula in our telescopes for a few days or weeks. And astronomers will greedily study the spectrum of this cloud. They will search for traces of atypical chemical elements, metals that shouldn't be in a comet, isotopes that could point to an artificial origin. Every photon arriving from the site of this catastrophe will be subjected to the most thorough analysis. But whatever we see, the world will never be the same. For the first time in human history, we may be witnessing an event that is not the product of the blind forces of nature. We may see the result of an action by a mind, alien, ancient, and utterly indifferent to us. This event changes everything. It calls into question not only our knowledge of the solar system, but also our place in the universe. We used to think of ourselves as the only bearers of intelligence, at least in the observable space. We felt alone. But maybe we're just blind. Maybe the cosmos is teeming with life, but it's life of such a different order that we are incapable of recognizing it. Life that operates not with words, but with orbits. Not with thoughts, but with actions. The coming flash. It is the dazzling, final roar of Comet Atlas. But what will we see in its light? The death of an interstellar wanderer, or the birth of a new era in human knowledge? An era in which we understand that we are not alone, and that the celestial mechanism has its watchmaker, and we do not know his intentions. We are standing on the threshold of the greatest discovery, or the greatest terror. The line between them is now thinner than ever, and all we can do is watch. Look into the eyepieces of our telescopes and wait. Wait for an answer that will come not as a radio signal, but as a flash of light from a deliberate, calculated, and inevitable impact in the void. An impact that will prove that our cozy home is just a speck of dust in an arena where dramas of a truly cosmic scale are played out. What do you think? A coincidence with a probability of 0? Or the first act of a play we are only just beginning to comprehend? If this abyss haunts you, as it does me, subscribe. We'll continue to gaze into it together.